This video is a little different from usual. Rather than a flight, it will be a behind the scenes look at my simulator, including some pictures of the construction process. So let's start with looking at some of the photos from the construction. My first step was to build a platform to mount the simulator on. If I had more height, I would have constructed a taller platform to allow linked yokes and rudder pedals. This was not the case, so the frame was made from 2x4 inch wood and then covered in MDF and a rubber matting. Then a massive box of parts arrived from Canada. First up was the nose shell. This was constructed from flat aluminum sections supplied by Flight Deck Solutions, or FDS, in Canada. Not quite the same as the real thing, but a hell of a lot easier to transport. Up next was the construction of the MIP. This was probably the most complicated part of the build. The first step was building the basic frame, along with adding the acrylic for the various screens. Then starting to add the various components and the wiring looms. The basic MIPs come with dummy chronometers for the captain and first officer sides. FTS offers working displays for these, but I opted to use flight illusion gauges for the captain side and left the FO side with the dummy. To get the FI gauges to fit, I had to design and 3D print an adapter plate. And here is the result. Next, I had to modify the monitors I had bought for the displays. This basically meant removing the screens from the cases and mounting them to the FTS supplied brackets. The good news is they all still worked after modification. Then back to wiring. Lighting control and display controls were added to the lower section of the MIP, along with the ground proximity inhibit switches. And then back to the wiring again. After the basic MIP was completed, I moved on to the glare shield, EFIS and the MCP. Next job was to install the lower ECAS display and the two CDUs for the FMS. In this shot you can see some of the FDS backlighting in action. It looks just like the real plane. And here are some of the panel lights and the MCP lights. I designed and 3D printed covers for the two Flight Deck Solutions dimmer cards and the central Flight Illusions interface card. And here are some pictures of the completed main instrument panel and the glare shield. And everything fired up for the first time. And this is the first of what will ultimately be two replica 737 yokes from Ace Controls. This is the first of two real 737 seats that I bought for the simulator. These are the open cockpit rudder pedals, which I've been using on the captain's side of the cockpit up to now. These are about to be replaced with Flight Deck Solutions rudder pedals, which are far superior. These rudder pedals will then go onto the first officer side of the cockpit. This is my throttle quadrant from Flight Deck Solutions. It's not motorized, but later this year I hope to replace it with a fully motorized version which will faithfully reproduce the functionality of the real 737. Here you can see the center pedestal, which I'm starting to populate with the various panels. And the MIP finally gets installed into the cockpit nose section. Here I've started to install the nose section liners. Here the center pedestal along with the throttle quadrant and the captain's side seat has been installed. In this picture you can see I've used straight rails which come from Flight Deck Solutions. Later I replace these with genuine J rails. This is a peek inside the back of the nose section and shows the final cabling on the MIP. And after all those bad photographs, here's a glamour photograph I took of the MIP all lit up. And of course every cockpit needs cup holders and somewhere to store papers. So based on pictures of the real cockpit, I designed and 3D printed cup holders and map pockets for each side of the cockpit. I fabricated the two grab handles that go just above the windshield. And here you can see them in place. From photographs of the real thing, I designed and 3D printed dummy window openers. And here I'm in the process of installing the Fly Illusions wet compass. Here I'm doing more work on the center pedestal, doing all the interfacing to the Flight Deck Solutions interface cards, fabricating dummy blanking plates, spraying them, and installing them into the pedestal. I also drew up in CAD from photographs of the real thing and 3D printed some dummy vent controls. Here I'm working on the rear of the forward overhead panel. And here is the aft overhead after I'd finished installing and wiring all the panels. I also vinyl wrapped the outside of the cockpit. And here's some views around the cockpit. This is a small smoke detector that I installed in the cockpit just in case. And here are the 4 computers that I built that power the simulator. These are the 3 70-inch 4K Samsung televisions that provide the external display. And here are some details of the specifications of the computers that run the simulator, along with some information on the software that I use. Hope you enjoyed this video and it answers some of the questions you had about my simulator. And please, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye bye.